Welcome to episode 14 on the Hour podcast. This episode on my character Rodgers, Detective Rodgers, Sir William Riku Rodgers as his full name. And I'm joined with Skyslayer again.
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
Oh my. We're being as chaotic as Rodgers right now.
Yeah, let's throw all common sense out the window.
Yep, let's put mac and cheese under a pillow for the mac and cheese fairy. Have hot pockets and mini jackets
Yeah.
within his jacket. Let's have popcorn and sushi and Roger's favorite food, strawberry pop tart with maple syrup, and
That's not that bad. Sounds kind of nice.
yeah, and begin talking about Rogers. So, you, Skyslayer, know a little bit about Rogers since we did an episode together.
Yep.
So, what are your opinions on Rogers from your experience with Rogers?
Well, he's definitely a nutcase.
Yep.
He he has his quirks. He has his faults. He has his weird lingos.
Yep. He's always got answer phones. He likes fanboy hooters a lot.
Oh yes, he apparently is an infatuated of femboy hooters.
And he's also been one to cause arson in the past, and he almost once destroyed a city with a nuclear reactor.
Oh god, I didn't know about that one until now.
Yep. All because he wanted to heat up his hot pockets.
Why the fuck would you use a nuclear bomb to warm up your hot pockets?
I don't know, but Rogers would.
So wait, he opened the microwave up, stuck a nuclear bomb in with his Pop Tarts.
It was a nuclear reactor.
Oh, so he stuck a mini nuclear reactor in the microwave with his Pop Tarts.
It was a nuclear reactor of a city, so I think he put the hot pockets on the nuclear reactor, and it almost sets the nuclear reactor off.
Oh god. He's definitely got a one-way ticket to hell.
Yep, I'm pretty certain Hell would kick Rogers out.
Definitely. He causes too much destruction wherever he goes.
Yep, and in the noir episode, he goes to supposedly heaven, and he just ends up back in reality. So even heaven kicked him out.
Neither hell or heaven wants him. He will live forever to walk the earth alone.
The only time he died is in the main timeline, not the alternate timeline. Only by an immense powerful being like the Scarlet Queen, being Michael's mother, aka SCP-001, was he actually able to die. And he didn't even die the first time, technically. He was in a death realm, whatever, and then he fully died. And you may know, I probably mentioned this, but Rogers is also a half ghost.
Yeah.
So, yeah. He's only half ghost, so he only can phase through roofs for some reason. Like he phases upwards, but once he's finished phasing upwards, like he just like can reset to his original position where he was before he started phasing upwards. So yeah, Rodgers is an odd cookie,
Well,
and
he's not cut from the human cookie cutter. He's cut from the wonky one.
yep, he might be human, questionably, but he's definitely not normal. Like his grandfather is a lot more normal. Lawrence Rodgers, another one of my characters, who is also technically Larry, aka SCP-106, who 106 was a problem in the past, but Michael made a deal with 106, so it's less hostile. And so Larry and Lawrence are the same person, but they're like two halves. Like Larry is the sort of like evil side, and Lawrence is the good side. And Lawrence made the Payday Gang,
Uh,
which I've probably mentioned before. But Detective Rogers is nothing like his grandfather. And another gag is like he thought his mother was like some lady in an image, like when he was ghost hunting, and he thought some man also in an image was like his uncle, and also like an old lady was like his grandmother, Granny Rodriguez, as he calls his grandma, even though it would technically be Grandma Rodgers, but he calls his grandma Rodriguez. I don't know why, but Rodgers does that.
well, he's sort of sound mind anyway.
Yeah. Which, if that lady really is his grandmother, that means it would be the wife of Lawrence, but I don't think alive anymore, probably passed away. Seeing that so far I haven't had Lawrence like actually interact with a wife, so and yeah, so most likely Lawrence's wife is dead. So that is unfortunate for Lawrence. But yeah, and the last member of the Rodgers family is Boop Boop.
Boop Boop has more common sense than Rogers.
Yup. Why are your like opinions on Boop Boop from what you've seen so far?
Um, well, for starters, they got a bit more common sense than Rogers.
Yep.
They're a little bit weird, but they've got their quirks. Um, I've only interacted with Boop Boop, I think, once
Yeah.
so far.
Technically
So apart from,
twice because of the card episode, but yeah.
yeah. Um, so far he's pretty good.
Boop Boop has no gender.
Oh, they are good.
Yes. That's Boop Boop, one of Boop Boop's classic lines. Boop Boop has no gender. Also, Boop Boop is an Enigma true SCP god. Yeah. But I began Rodgers like with Kimmo, as she once known as Wheezing, back in December of 2020 with Riku as Rodgers, which was the beginning of like Rodgers. Like before that, before the Rodgers thing, we would actually have like another role play that would be changed into Rodgers roleplay. Most things from the original survived in some way. Like there was a assistant for the person, because in the original like roleplay, it was a vlogger instead of a detective.
Ah,
So it was like a vlogger investigating a place to like get views and subscribers, and there was a mysterious businessman. I played the mysterious businessman who, in the original version of the roleplay, was being controlled by the things in the mansion, which now obviously I have the name Living Darkness for it. But in the original, he was being controlled. He was like evil and would basically betray the two of them, but that never quite happened because we never quite finished the map. It would only be once Rodgers formed that we would actually complete the map, which would be
uh,
in the original adventure was Detective Rodgers, his assistant steward, and Jimmy, because Jimmy was my original character, and Boop Boop. Boop Boop would mysteriously disappear and later return in the Fever Dream episode, but yeah, that would be the start of it all. And then other places like Noir would be gone to, and Fever Dream and The Obsession Man, and other places like a Space Station, but that one's not exactly canon anymore. But it is canon, at least as I see it. A ship cruise where basically it was a Titanic and the ship sunk. A podcast, our podcast, the very reason why I named the Our Podcast the Our Podcast. Sad Amelia, which was another thing. Also, Crypt of Spirits. Yeah, and some other miscellaneous adventures with like the Book of Truths, which was before the Book of Lies. The and brother to the Book of Lies.
mm.
But the Book of Truths is dead at this point, and in that Michael would capture them, but then free them and like free Rogers and Stewart, as that would be like his turning point. He would start to become more of a good person, because Michael used to be a bit of a psycho, if you didn't know.
I did not know. How
Yeah,
psycho was Michael?
uh, he was definitely a bit more like his psychoness ranged a bit. Like he threatened Boop Boop. He threatened to kill Boop Boop at one point. So
Wow.
Michael was once like really more of a psycho, especially during the fever dream. Like one of the lines I remember, like I did in character is like, if anyone enters that door, I will open fire. Like,
Just just walk towards door, annihilate it instantly.
yep. Michael once was a lot more of a hostile person thanks to the Foundation, like, leading him down a dark path because the Foundation was a lot more evil in the past, but then he would become a bad person. Another thing was another Rodgers adventure would be the WDKS, which would introduce Charlie, who was like Michael's robot drone, which he would become more of an important character. Obviously, Al is another character. Obviously, being the leader, like the show leader of the Owl show, as it is his show, and he was once a part of the League of Villains, which led me to do Payday, because I figured Payday was the best way to do like a League of Villains like arc, like there was some criminals or something that were running the world, sort of, at least the dark side of the world, the criminal activities, so they could gain power and control over the world, just like the how the Foundation had done. But yeah, they were another group of interest. Also, the Illuminati. The
Illumin.
Illuminati is well, was real in my world. It's it's fallen apart currently in the timeline, but it does have a surviving member, sort of, being William Taggart, who was the son of the administrator, who the administrator of the foundation before Michael took over. I think I named him Henry Taggart. So yeah, but he is the only one and only member of the Illuminati at the moment, and is currently like, he was like a teenager like when I did the arc, so he was like 15, 16. So by now he's um uh like 2 years older, so he'd be 17, 18 at this point. So he is
Alright.
a young man. He hasn't really appeared yet, but yeah. Um, yeah. So here's another important character, and Deus Ex is the canonical future of Michael's universe. Except, like, in Deus Ex the game, it's like 2027 when the events of the game takes place, which makes no sense according
Uh,
to our timeline, because they have like robot arms and stuff. They have like augments and stuff.
yeah.
So where I'm putting it in my timeline is it's in about the 2050s approximately. So that's something I've got to revisit in about 3 decades. If I continue to do this that long, 3 decades time. I do want to do possibly the other Deus Ex games that I haven't done so far, because I haven't touched humankind divided and uh
I think the only Deus Ex I've played, I think, is the Human Divided. I think.
and the other one's human revolution for Adam Jensen's story.
Let me double check which one I've played.
And the other Deus Ex game I haven't played as Michael is Deus Ex Invisible War. Otherwise, I played the original and I played Human Revolution as Michael. Both of those were fairly important, I guess. Not as important currently in the timeline, but will have significance later, especially the longer I do this, the closer we get to Deus Ex timeline. But yeah. So it's safe to say a lot has gone on. With that, all the stuff tied to Rodgers and that.
Yeah. How do you spell that game?
Um, which one? Human
The
Revolution or
the DX one.
oh the um you spell it Deus and then for the second word it's EX. Deus Ex.
Yes, the one I've played is Mankind Divided.
Hmm.
I had to look up the picture for the game cover.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the one I played was Mankind Divide.
I see. Yeah, I've played the original Invisible War. Um, I haven't. I didn't complete the original Invisible War. Nor Humankind Divided, but I did complete Human Revolution. It's the only one I played like completed to completion. Uh, and I do like it a lot. So yeah, but yeah, a lot's happened thanks to the Rodgers episodes. The Rodgers is one of the key foundations of like Michael as a character and has shaped Michael a lot.
Uh,
And Jimmy as well. But like Jimmy had less connection to Rodgers as he was only had one adventure with Rodgers and like Rodgers had less of an impact on
mm,
Jimmy. But yeah, so but uh, to get back to the Rodgers like thing, eventually the I would stop. The Rodgers series would die out with us doing it as a group in June of 2021. I would obviously try and keep the character alive in hopes that would return, but eventually I like figured that the group found that like the group had been split apart because of trauma and it was unfortunate and it meant Rodgers ended too soon, in my opinion. Like, I,
Uh,
I barely, like, got to, like, only 6, 7 months, like, but not every day was, like, us doing it, so only, like, a dozen adventures of Rodgers, so not a lot, which is why eventually I would try to keep Rodgers alive myself. Once I knew Rodgers was dead, like, he wasn't dead like the character, but the core group that made it, like, had disbanded, and like my friends split in half, so I was left to pick up the pieces with obviously my characters being Michael and Jimmy being my thing, and
yeah.
I would have to pick up the pieces. And eventually I decided to fully kill off Rodgers, which may have been the wrong decision because that led to the two timelines thing, being the main timeline and the alternate timeline. But I made the decision at the time because at that point it had been a long time since anything had happened with, like,
Rodgers.
yeah, Rodgers or any of the other characters. Like, I hadn't done anything with Kim, um, with Stuart, so when Stuart would eventually return, it was like, damn it, I made the wrong decision. Now I've got two timelines. So, but there's nothing I can really do about it now because, like, Kim Weezing has made it clear that Stuart has been reset to ground zero, but Michael remembers. Michael, like, has to remember because Rodgers was such an important part of his life and, like, his character. You can't just wipe out, like, something that is a part of someone. You can't just erase a memory.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why I kept doing Rodgers, and now you're getting to meet the characters of Rodgers and Boop Boop, and eventually Detective Jack and Detective Blue,
Yeah.
which, as I mentioned, Blue was the one that discovered the void. Yeah, another important thing in my lore. And Jack's more normal. Jack's more human. Hasn't really got any special abilities. Just a normal Earth detective. And yeah. And that brings us up to the current where in the main timeline Rodgers died, and in the alternate timeline he lived, thankfully,
Yeah.
but it's sort of like reaction reality has been fractured. And yeah, but I think that'll do it for episode 14. Thank you for
Yes,
joining
indeed.
me, Sky Slayer.
You're welcome.
And thank you all for watching this episode of the podcast.
And also, congratulations on 100 subscribers.
Yes, big milestone.
Yeah.
Anyway, peace.
Live long and prosper.